Hey everybody. All right, so we are on lesson 5, problem set. All right, some of the students are telling me that these are very helpful. So keep letting me know and communicating and let me know how you guys are doing with these. All right, number 1, use the coordinate plane to the right to answer the following questions. All right, so we're using that. I've done some work a little ahead of time to try to make these videos quicker. Use a straight edge to construct a line that goes through points A and B and label it E. So I've done that already. So just connected those, labeled it E. All right, it says line E is parallel to the what axes and is perpendicular to which axes? So the key words here that you need to know is the word parallel. Make sure you know what that means. All right, that's like train tracks. All right, train tracks are always parallel to each other, so those trains can stay on there. They're always equal distance apart. All right, and they will never meet. Those lines will never meet. And perpendicular is lines that meet. They intersect each other. All right, so line E is always going to be parallel to our x-axis. All right, they're equal distance apart. They keep going on forever in any direction, and they will never meet. So that right there is x-axis. And perpendicular to the y-axis. If I carried that line right here, they would meet at a point. And perpendicular means they meet at a 90-degree angle. Other lines can intersect to not be perpendicular because perpendicular means meet at a 90-degree angle. So if we connected those right there, we could see that they make a right angle right there. Okay, plot 2 more points on line E, name them C and D. Now you could have different answers than I on this one right here, all right? Because you could put right in the middle here, you could put it here, 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 all right? I'm not even sure what I put on the answer key, so I might even come up with something different than was on the answer key. But I'm gonna put one here, and I'm gonna put one right there. And I'm gonna label that C, and I'm gonna label that D. All right, now give the coordinates for each of the points below. So A, all right, first we have to count here and see what these are going up in. They're just going up in ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, it's always really good to number those. All right, and make sure that you don't have to then keep recounting and just number them. I'd already done the y-axis. All right, so A, let's go look at that. That is at 3. Remember, we always go along here first. So it's 3, 4. And then we put in, so we put brackets, 3, 4. That's how we write that in. X is always first, Y is always second. All right, B is at 11, 4. So we go and write that in there, 11, 4. All right, my C is at 5, 4. Yours might have been 4, 4. All right, yours might have been 6, 4. All right, so you look, but what it has to be, no matter what, your X might be something different, but your Y has to be that 4 right there. All right, so you could have, you might even have put it on 1, 4. You might have put it over here. All right, D, mine is at 8, 4. And again, your D could be different. All right, what do all the points of the line E have in common? All right, the things that they all have in common, let's look at this, is the 4s. All right, so what they have in common is that the Y coordinate is 4. And that's what they have the same. All right, give the coordinate of another point that would fall on the line E with an X coordinate greater than 15. So if they're giving you the, saying that the X has to be greater than 15, that means this number right here has to be more than 15. So I'm just gonna write 16. And no matter what, for it to lie on that line, what does the Y have to be? It has to be 4. So you could have 16, 17, 18, 19. You could have been thinking of fractions. You could have 16 and a half, 16.5. All right, anything, you could have 15.1. All right, 15 and 1/10. Anything that's bigger than 15. But this right here, this 4 right here has to be a 4. All right, next problem. All righty. Plot the following points on the coordinate plane to the right. All right, so we have all those coordinates there. All right, like I said, you always go look at that and number, and I pre-numbered those, the ones that were missing. Quarter, half, 3/4, 1. 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4. Remember, 1 1/2 would be the same as 1 2/4. All right, so let's look at what we're plotting here. 1 1/2 and 1/2. So I go always along my x first, and I'm going to go to 1 1/2, and then I'm going to go to 1/2, and I put my point in, and I label it P. Oops, that didn't really look like a P there over top of that. All right, know that that is, actually I'm going to have to just P. All right, now we have 1 1/2 and 2 1/2. So we got 1 1/2, so we're still on this right here, but we go all the way up to, there's 2, there's 2 3/4, there is 2 1/2 right there, and we'll label that one Q. Next one is R, which is 1 1/2 and 1 1/4. So there's my 1, so there's my 1 1/4, and there's R. And then I have 1 1/2 and 3/4. You start noticing something in common there. Oh, and that's where I messed up a little bit there. And we label that one S. All right. It then says use a straight edge to draw a line to connect these points. All right, I only have 2 hands here, and my hands are also, you use a straight edge, but I'm just gonna, or if you don't have a ruler, use the side of a book, use something, or just do your best and draw a straight line through those right there. All right, and it looks like that. B, in line H, oh, sorry, we're supposed to label that H. In line H, X equals blank for all values of Y. So X, what would X always be? X is always gonna be 1 1/2. You can see that in our coordinate pairs here, 1 1/2, 1 1/2, 1 1/2, 1 1/2. So X is always going to equal 1 1/2, no matter what the Y value is. All right, circle the correct word. So line H is parallel or perpendicular to the x-axis. So let's look at here. Remember what that word parallel and perpendicular mean. All right, so here's my x-axis. Here's this line here. They are going to meet at 90-degree angles. All right, so that means perpendicular. So hopefully you have circled the word perpendicular. Line H is parallel or perpendicular to the y-axis. Here it is right here. Here's my y-axis. All right, they are equal distance apart all the way through, and if they carried on in any direction, they would always be equal distance apart, and that means lines are parallel if they are the same distance apart all the way through. So that would be parallel. What pattern occurs in the coordinate pairs that let you know that line H is vertical? So this is also called a vertical line. Your y-axis is always vertical and your x-axis is horizontal. All right, so for us to know that this is vertical, we know that all the x coordinates, so we put an x in there, are the same. They're all 1 1/2. If you have all x coordinates the same of a bunch of coordinate pairs that you plot, you're going to make a vertical line. If all your y coordinates are the same, you are going to make a horizontal line. All right, so for each pair of points below, think about the line that joins them. For which pairs is the line parallel to the x-axis? Circle the answer without plotting them. Explain how you know. So we don't want to plot these. We just want to look at these right here. So we're going to look at our x's. So here, this one's an x, that's an x, and this is your y and your y. Now we just learned that if all the x coordinates are the same, we are going to notice that it's a vertical line. All right. So here it's asking us to think about them and which pair is parallel to the x-axis. So it's going to make a horizontal line. So for it to be parallel with this line here, we need a line going this way some way. So for it to be this way, our x is going to be different because we're going to have point here, point here, point here. But what needs to be the same? The y. So the second number needs to be the same. So we look at here and we see that here the x's are different and here the y's are different. Here the x's are different. Look here, here the y's are going to be the same. The y's are going to be 9. So that is going to be our one right here. Let's look at C and see if that one is well. We have x is the same, all right, and y is different. So for it to make a parallel line with the x-axis, all right, so a horizontal line, your y's have to be the same, so it is B. How do we know that? Because the y coordinate is the same. That's how we know. All right, next problem. For each pair of points below, think about the line that joins them. For which pair is the line parallel to the y-axis? So it's just like that one there, where we're going to make a vertical line for it to be parallel to the y-axis. So therefore, we already learned that the x has to be the same, but it could be that all the x's are 2. It could be this, as long as all the x's are the same. So we need to now look at our, so circle the answer and give 2 other coordinate pairs that would also fall on this line. So let's have a look. So we're looking for our first numbers in the pairs to be the same. That's 4 and 6, that's different. That's 3/5 and 1/5, that's different. And here we have 8/10 and 8/10. So it is going to be C. And if we're going to give 2 more pairs that would fall on this line, so it just says give 2 other coordinate pairs that would fall on this line. So what has to be the same no matter what? All right, your first number has to be 0.8. That's what we've learned there. And the other number can be anything. All right, it doesn't matter. You can choose what that number is. It can be, let's see, they used 1.9 and 2.3, so just anything but those numbers there. So you could just use 2. You could just use 1. So again, or 3. All right, again, this one has to be 0.8, and that can be anything. You could put 100 there if you wanted to. All right, and next problem. It says, write the coordinate pairs of 3 points that can be connected to construct a line that is 5.5 units to the right of, so basically your x-axis, and parallel to the y-axis. So basically it's just telling you your x has to be 5.5. So I will write 5.5 here. Put my comma in my there. I'm just going to write my 5.5 in every time. All right. So I'm going to see if there's any stipulation on what my y-axis needs to be. All right. Write the coordinate pairs of 3 points that can be connected to construct a line that is 5.5 units to the right of and parallel to the y-axis. So these could be anything. I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure what my answer key says, so I might have different numbers in the y-axis there. So it might say 4, 5, 6. It might say 1/2, 3/4, and 1. I'm not sure. So those numbers could be different. All right, write the coordinate pairs of 3 points that lie on the x-axis. So for it to lie on the x-axis, let's go and look at our axes here. For it to lie on here, all right, it could be, the x could be anything, all right, but our y has to be, the origin has to be 0 because it doesn't want to go up for it to be on this x-axis. So no matter what, our y has to be 0 in that case. So I'm going to leave a blank for my x and put 0 in because that's one thing I definitely know 100% for this to be correct. And again, this number could be anything. So again, it could just do 1, 2, 3. Nice and simple. All right, last problem. Adam and Janice are playing Battleship. Presented in the table is a record of Adam's guesses so far. He has hit Janice's battleship using the coordinate pairs. What should he guess next? How do you know? Explain using words and pictures. So I just drew a quick sketch, didn't make sure that these were completely equal. And then I'm going to go look at this. My ticks will mean hit, my X's will mean miss, and I'm just going to sketch that out. So we have 311. All right, so I'm just going to go here at 311. And then we have, and that was a hit, so I'm going to put a tick in there. All right, a miss was 211. All right, which is there. All right, a hit was 310. All right. Oops, I'm up too high. I did like 13 there. So let's get rid of those right there. Made a little mistake there. All right, 411 is a miss. So 411 right here is a miss. Let's see, what have I done wrong here? I've done something wrong on this one here. I'm trying to rush since it's the last question. 311 was a hit. All right, 211 was a miss. That's that right there. 310, all right, was a hit. No, I'm correct here. And 411 was a miss. That's where I went wrong. That X needs to go there. And 39 was a miss as well. That one's non-existent. Okay, so I was kind of given the answer already when I did that ahead of there. So we know we're not going to go any direction this way. We know this way is down, so we should guess the one right above it. So if 311 was a hit, and 310 was a hit, we know that we know it's going to be a vertical boat. So the boat's going to be vertical this way right here because it's the X that's the same. So 312 would be your guess. So you'd guess 312 because the X coordinates of 3 were hits. So therefore we know that the X is going to be a 3, and then the next number up from 11 is 12. All right, so thanks for watching and see you soon.